Everyone, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here, chatting to you a little bit about the month of June 2022. I have a couple of charts in front of me, so let's see what this brings. So after the eclipse season of Taurus, June should be a very, very nice time. So it already should be a no-brainer. So some things should start to feel definite, and I also feel that a lot of people need to really grow up and understand where they have no obstructions anymore. And the infantility that I see sometimes in certain people is simply because they can't believe that certain things are gone and they are no longer causing damage in their life. So this is like the elephant and the peg. So it's like the peg is holding you back. So I feel for most people, there's going to be really, really easy to satisfy themselves. To me, this month looks like it's really, really specific for the senses, for phenomenalism, for amazing ambition, for amazing growth, for incredible income for some people. I trust that this is going to be a very, very light-hearted and genuine time. So this is also where we find some cool stuff. So this is where gems are found in Gemini, of course, and we're going to really, really feel what we want, or we're going to really understand what we don't, and it's going to be very easy to get close to that which you love and enjoy, and it's going to be also very, very easy to eradicate what you don't need. So it's like pulling out the weeds from your life, if there are any. So this is where you really, really have to go and do that thing now. So to me, it looks like Aries, Mars, and Jupiter should really give us plenty of bounce right about now, and it should be very, very easy and happy to do these things that you want to do. I feel that most of us will have a pretty good time, and it feels that we are naturally curious about that which is relevant and that which has a genuine hold on us. So things that are healthy for us, things that are naturally good for our system, things that have come a long way, things that have improved. Also people that are zany and that are the best at something. So it is very easy to see somebody who is looking good to us for some reason. It's good to see a master at work or at play. It's a wonderful time to really realize how well somebody's doing. Venus is doing such a good job of it already in Taurus. I feel that there's going to be such a gratefulness and grace given to those of us that are doing very well and that are starting to come up roses. So things coming up roses, things improving. If your digestive health is improving, you should notice that. If your workflow is improving, you should notice that. If you have done sufficient findings and work on yourself, it might already start to pay off. So I talked a little bit about the fine details in Taurus and how sometimes getting these right can cause a very huge change over in Gemini, and we would benefit very fast. So if you have spruced up your website, if you have made some adjustments on yourself, on your system, if you've been good to yourself, if you've changed something about your diet and your habits, in Gemini, we should really have it all good. So to me, it looks like a very, very bountiful and special time. And I mean, what can I say? I feel that many people are going to have a lot of connections, and I feel that, of course, face-to-face interaction in Gemini always goes a really long way. Face-to-face interviews, holding hands with somebody new, doing things with somebody that you're not usually used to doing things with. But there's also trouble in paradise, I trust, as there are lots of us that want to go the wrong way. And it's not because it is interesting to go the wrong way, it's just that we have a habit to. Like, for example, you've been invited to an incredible event and you decide to stay indoors. Or you have been given an incredible opportunity and you just brush it away. Or you have been asked to do something and maybe this very detail, this very task is incredibly important. It's very potent what you have to do, but it only takes a very short time, but you forget. So not needing to do things or needing to do things, and then like overbearing as well. So not needing to do but doing, or needing to do and not doing. So I also feel there's quite a lot to do with hands and feet, and the arms especially, things that are having to be said and not having to be said, things that are appropriate and not appropriate. So to me, it looks like a very, very wondrous time to figure out what this means. Sometimes it's like impromptu speaking, it's like impromptu acting or doing. The moment calls for it. So if you are called to do something in the moment, try to trust that there's some very fresh, extravagant, even, and shiny new energies working with us all. Wealth is on the outside as well. So, like, sometimes a person that feels and looks genuine, or feels and looks healthy to you, or feels and looks sparkly or wealthy, is somebody to go with. Sometimes it's just on the outside because we have Jupiter in Aries and also Mars next to Jupiter at the beginning of the month. So if it looks good to you, if it smells good to you, if it tastes good to you, it's not really about trying so hard to make sense of it. I think that's actually the worst thing that we can do sometimes. The impulse is right. So that impulsiveness of Aries should really kick us into some really good game. It's really good to step up a notch. And for some of us already, for maybe a couple of months, we've seen that we are underqualified for certain places we were used to in the Oxen year, 2021, and we are now in a place where we feel we are maybe underqualified. So this is where you get hired for the job that you feel is way beyond your standard of work, or this is where you get this big upheaval of previous timelines and results, and you get that next step. So if you like, you can have a look. I mean, it's worthy for it now to happen. If you are suddenly to have an upgrade, if you are suddenly to have a system overhaul as well. I mean, I'm loving this. Like at the moment, I'm drinking a lot of orange juice, for example, like orange juice, like system overhaul. Going to the chiropractor these days as well, which has been very, very sincerely amazing, actually. So things that really, really kind of even freak you out as to how awesome they are is really incredible. So to flood your senses full of love and joy, to flood your ears full of beautiful sounds, to enjoy your body and to enjoy one another. It's a very, very epic and slightly secretive time, as we are at the bottom of the global chart, and Lilith is in Cancer. It's a little secretive, but inside there are sometimes very interesting locks that can open because of this Jupiter Mars situation in Aries, and Chiron being in there as well. Things can open. Chiron is sort of almost at an aspect to Lilith this time around, so at a square to Lilith. So it feels like it's really, really nice, and also infantile time to accidentally get close to the right person, to step into the right situation, and suddenly in this very joyous, even childish ways, certain very big things can be done. So for example, if you are seeing a coach, or if you are seeing a play, or if you are like talking to somebody very interesting, you might find keys or interesting ideas in just about anything, but it has to be fresh. So I got to talk to you a little bit about freshness, and I already kind of touched on this topic during the lunar eclipses and things happening in Taurus last month. So freshness is very important to us during this time. So it's hard to know which way is best if you just simply don't have the freshest results already, or you don't feel fresh and youthful, because you see, it is all about youth, beauty, freshness, exhilaration, excitement, emotions, power, friendships, and all of that stuff during this particular month, and also during this year, because we are in a tiger year. So this is not to stick around. If you have a very, very nice relationship with who you are, and with the friends that you have, or you have a very, very good and wise understanding of anything, and it is very, very powerful, makes you feel lots of emotions that are bright and beautiful, and you feel that life is filled with color, that's where you get the best results. Accidentally coming up upon a treasure. So this is where you didn't even notice it, and there was this incredible person or this incredible gift or wow, this incredible opportunity outcome, or even a little key to something that you couldn't open before. So this is where childlike wonder and enjoyment unlocks quite a lot of doors for you. So to me, this June looks very, very easy if you are like a child, and if you are maybe even seen by the people as a mature or irrelevant or fragile, anything. It really never really mattered what another person thought of you here. I feel it's more about just extending your youthfulness and your vibrancy and your emotionality and going towards that, which is just fun. We have North Node very close to Uranus. We have also Mercury, of course, coming out of retrograde, full power to you. So to me, it looks like a lot of this June, especially as Mercury will be going through Gemini as well, is just about speeding up a little bit and enjoying that childishness. And yes, the shallowness is right during this time. Don't be afraid of shallowness, because within it is the first and the last glance at things. It's like when you see it, you know it. It's like you love it because it's trendy, or you love it because it's shiny. I've talked about these phenomena previously, and quite often they are very deceiving phenomena. So there's lots of traps out for us sometimes, like they were in the rat year 2020 and Ox 2021. And some of Tiger already has been very brilliant for setting up those traps. But I feel for a lot of people, we're getting so good at life, like we're just getting so good at understanding life, we don't have to think twice. So that long, hard process and that long, steady evolution that we should have really developed during Ox, yeah, that slow cooking, it can be transcended. I mean, I talked a little bit about how to master your instrument or your body or your voice. It's like when you first start learning, you're kind of shy and you kind of take the long way to learn. And then when you have been studying something for a long time, be it philosophy, be it the arts, anything, you just start getting really good at it. It's like when you're cooking and you're really good at cooking and your hand just naturally reaches for that ingredient, you don't have to look at the cookbook all the time. So this is where this shortening is happening. So you don't have to look at the cookbook of life to get the right ingredients, to get the good results. It's all in the chemistry of the moment, actually. So if you are fluent in your art, if you are fluent in your instrument, if you are very, very wise, and if you are a very profound soul, these moments is basically what it's about. And the freshness of who you are and that which you're a part of is going to solve many puzzles for you. And this is very interesting. Sometimes very hardcore keys, really hardcore things can be found during this type of month when you didn't expect it. So, like doing something so fun and so obviously immature, or just even face value, and inside that very miraculous, childish state of play, you find an accidental key that you didn't think you'd ever find in your life. So sometimes when we are in these states of miracle, like childish miracle making, we don't know how it finds us, but the moment changes everything. So just the one word spoken by that person, just that one melody, just this one experience, or just this one expression, all of a sudden helps you do things different. And it's usually fun and fast. So this is not where you have to sit down and study or look at many books to get your answer. And that to me is an incredible window of potential. And we have to not be afraid of it. So unfortunately, quite a lot of us are asked repeatedly in our life to simmer down and to shush and not participate. So sometimes people are raised like that by their parents to start with. So I was one of those kids, they just got told to stay at home. And which could be potentially obvious. And then say, like in my family, most of us girls, we didn't really evolve, so we just like basically became wives. You know, that's kind of how it went for many of us. And I trust that's how a lot of the world works. And we got to basically transcend these cages and these rigid realities that are telling you to do things the long way, that are making you study way too long, that are making you work way too hard, or do things the long way, because at this point in time, it is the quickness and the freshness that counts. So, if you are void of magic during this time, if you're sulky, and especially if you are in a state of hypnosis, for example, you're watching a lot of cartoons, you're looking at the TV, you don't know what to do, you've got some mother issue coming up, you are asking about the aches and the pains and the vulnerabilities in your body, and you're not sure how to do the job, or the task at hand seems pathetic, or it seems like so long-winded what you're a part of. If you have any of this kind of drabness and darkness in this month, I would definitely suggest not participating on that level. And if you can, have a very rapid and very obvious result. Okay, instead of just sitting there in front of the TV for 5 hours, I'm just gonna like sleep. I'm gonna sleep. It's better to sleep. So here you have a very obvious result. Okay, instead of taking all these pills and running around the different doctor's appointments and not getting anywhere and feeling very whiny and sad and disheartened by life, I'm just going to not worry about it today. I'm going to go play some golf. And sometimes also accidents can save us in a good way, and sometimes in a very crazy way. So, like, for example, being bitten by a bee can help your health, you know, during these times, or having a little accident like falling over can actually fix your back. I know it sounds really, really crazy and ridiculous, but accidents do happen, and sometimes they carry with them a lot more than we know. Accidental meetings also, or just doing things by accident. If you love exploring, Uranus next to the North Node, if you enjoy doing things at a drop of a hat, if you just enjoy improvising or mixing colors on a page, or if you like just saying things out loud without really putting any meaning to them, there could be a sparkle of genius to your results. So an accidental blend of color that is just gorgeous can come from just some random splashes of watercolor on a page. Just some random words can save you and can help you. And also we have the Freudian slip happening also, because we are starting this month with a retrograde Mercury. So Freudian slips are actually really good for us right now, because they don't have to be bad. Sometimes you didn't know how to word it until you had to say it. I mean, like, I gotta tell you guys, I had this kind of like pseudo job interview sort of thing, and I just cracked my whole life story in that letter that I wrote to this person, like a cover letter. I was absolutely appalled, right, by certain things that happened in my life, and I didn't know how to um, understand what I was feeling or was going through, and my emotional states were very complicated until I basically wrote it on paper. And I accidentally kind of overshared and overstated certain things in this pitch that I made for this tourism agency, this very, very clean and beautiful, well-designed tourism agency. And it's interesting because I'm going to maybe, or maybe not, hear from them in the next couple of days or weeks. But it's an interesting feeling when you accidentally let it rip, and you didn't know what your behavior was actually about. And the serendipity, the accidentality, or even I would say the seeming futility of something that you're saying, doing, or creating, or even crafting can be a very vibrant key, but as long as it's young and fresh, it can be bothersome. So also sometimes people really suffer from being annoying during this time. You know, sometimes we are not to taste to somebody, or we were raised in a certain way, or our families treated us a certain way, and we don't really want to be that annoying person. And yeah, sometimes it's easy to be annoying because you're basically grinding the same thing over and over. And maybe underneath being annoying to yourself or to other people, you basically got a chip on your shoulder, or even a secret that you're trying to iron out, or you're trying to talk through. But the more we try to go over the same thing again and again, the less we are young, or like the less it's a good time. And we've got to also understand that about us and not feel emotional or bad or angry when this happens. So if you are feeling that you're going around in a loop and you're repeating the same thing and you're catching yourself out now on repetitions and saying the wrong thing to the wrong person repeatedly and trying to knock that door down when it's completely sealed shut, we have to be nurtured. So I definitely feel that some nurture will come early for some people before cancer comes. So to me, the most efficient way to express yourself during these days, especially in Gemini, is accidents, hopping on a plane, hopping on a train, doing things at a drop of a hat by accident, making friends accidentally, doing things serendipitously. And if you even not quite sure on your next move, just do something. Like, okay, I really gotta like do this job, and I can't. But you know what? I'm going to just go and kick a ball around, or I'm just gonna like do some yoga there, or I'm going to just like sing a song. And that is many times better than if you were just in a one grind. But believe it or not, some of us can't juggle. So Gemini, the great juggler, the many-handed one, the one with many faces and many hands, like it doesn't really want us to feel difficult to ourselves. So sometimes, for example, attention span is lost, or you educating somebody and they just don't care, or you're trying so hard and you just lose interest, and there's a combustibility to some results. So things pop. For example, you're sitting down and you're thinking so hard that suddenly you get a headache, or like you're writing so much that suddenly the keyboard just like runs out of juice, or like you can't press that key effectively, like you have a key stuck in your keyboard or something. So that's like one of those very, very hard places if you are grinding too much. But you see, we have Jupiter and Mars and Aries, and there might be a grind. So some people would try and milk that cow. So what I mean is like the golden calf thing. It's like people think they're going to get a result from this person or this activity or knowing this information. They keep on grinding. Try to see the easiest way possible. So for example, you have an idea. The idea is starting to be difficult to perform. Then you find another person that has already created that and are performing at that next level. Do you try and try and try, or do you just do something else? Maybe it's a good time to forget it and find it again later if it's meant for you, and if it's not, not. And I think that a lot of us people in this day and age also struggle from having too many ideas, or too much too many things, like too much ado about nothing, and then we scatter. So like, for example, in the olden days, especially in the Orient, in certain places in the world, people just got really good at that one thing. So there was like a master, of jewelry, or like a master of clay, of ceramics, so there were masters. And this was all around the world, of course, and it's specifically prolific in places like Japan and China, where these traditions have really taken over the world. Even, there are certain ways in which they've really perfected their hand at something. And some of this is because their gift was generational, and these people just basically, for some people it's like plodding about, but at the same time it is like gifted hands making something exquisite over time and constantly improving with task. That is what Tiger Year can bring up to the surface. Where are you? Just like amazing. And how did you get there? That's really great. But the thing is, these days people are very eclectic and they don't know what to do. So most of us don't work within the meter of our family line, and sometimes we just don't want to because we don't have faith. And that's okay. It's just important that we know how things are done. If you are flying for your task, even if you're like third generation at something, like you are like a third generation carpenter, fantastic. But if you aren't and you just want to win it and you want to force it to work for you, there can be injuries and there can be accidents. And not all of them are good, but even the really bad ones kind of, sort of end in a laugh in Gemini at the moment. And then I definitely understand if some people are just damn confused and nothing that I'm saying is making any sense. I understand. If you're having a very, very claustrophobic, uneasy, and kind of like sort of going around in circles, like kind of like a maze of a time, it's hard to get undone from it. So for certain people, it is definitely good to get real and understand where you are trapped. So if you're one of those unlucky people this time around that is going around on the merry-go-round and you're not feeling very lucky, and this Jupiter joy in Aries is not making you feel any good, you might have something hard in your life. So sometimes there is a health condition within depression. It's not just in your head. There could be an actual physical condition like heart condition. There could be bodily cramps. There could be infections. There could be other things that have been there for a really long time. So some things that I'm healing at the moment, so I'm always constantly healing my body, it's really fun, at the moment are actually only starting to get released, okay, because I'm making space for them now. So like I never thought that seeing a very good like hardcore Peruvian chiropractor would actually help my health so much. So that's something that I'm doing. Underlying chronic fatigue and illness and conditions could be really fixed really fast. Also, we got Jupiter in Aries. If you're spending your money on anything these days, and if you're struggling, and maybe you are in one of those cultures that likes to like shop for fun or like shop to get a good feeling, if you're gonna make that happen, try to shop for things that are good for your health today, or things you can wear on your person. Sometimes an external representation of something on you, of somebody, can really help you. Sometimes just feeling like you are really, really stepping up and shining during Gemini is good. And yes, there's also a lot of people that don't want to know, and they don't want to heal. They just like to feel sad. And we have to understand if there's joy in your sadness, because I got to tell you, it's risky business talking about this online, but there are certain people in specific type of religious and spiritual communities and also demographics in the world that naturally utilize sadness as a normal, neutral way of life, also in their doctrines, in their spirituality. They trust that life is hard and that it'll always be that. So if you're one of these people that has a certain type of genetic predisposition or like karmic predisposition to sadness, and you are always feeling lethargic, sad, or uninvited or hard done by your life results, it is a very great idea right about now to make sure that you are knowing that. And especially if you have mother, grandmother, father, or grandfather who is constantly pushing you into that slumber or that state of difficulty or that state of disease. And if you have chronic fatigue or like fibromyalgia, but it's not just that, it's like autoimmune disease that has been in the family, obesity, and all of these things, stagnation of water in the body, not being able to pass stool, not being able to breathe, anything blocked up and very, very hard to deal with. If you are one of these people, it's good to understand that you come to a certain point. We're at the bottom of the global chart. We have Eros, Sedna, also Sappho here. And we have Lilith and Ceres together at the bottom. Okay, it's very, very nice and calming to just say, so, okay, look, I really struggle with my weight. Or like, you know what, I have this kind of like a mental illness, and everything that I see, I feel is like an odd against me, or like I have a fear of people, or I have a fear of going outside, or I have a fear of how people might perceive me, Or maybe there was something in my family that made me feel this way. Or I'm constantly experiencing a level of shame, pain, or vulnerability. That's really great to notice. And it's really good to do those things that make you feel young and free, but understand if we have a chronic thing like overeating, overstimulating, obsession, sexual, emotional, or otherwise, incredible obsession with money is showing these days with this Mars Jupiter. Incredible observation of other people and judgment of other people. All of these different characters and masks, sometimes the styles of life. I don't think they're just masks. I think that some of these are really ingrained. They sometimes have a polar opposite effect as well. So a person that is always sad and silent might actually be very happy for just about anything. It's just an irony they're looking for, not the obvious truth. There are hidden or occult ways that people gratify themselves through maybe perversion or like sexual dysfunction or obsession, observation of other people, obsession with details, emotional and physical, sexual, dietary obsessions, so like anything like that is going on, and sometimes can actually be going on for the healthiest looking person as well. So when we have these things, the way to do it is to understand I'm done here, and not to go towards the cupboard, because I talked a little bit about shallow and young results, and that being the best thing. It's like, what, I see that chocolate and I just want to eat it. That's also good. Or like I want to experience that person, or I want to have fun with these people, and that there's a destructive layer of you. There is like a darkness that is asking you for that experience or that addiction, especially so very sacral stuff, or like brain stuff, body stuff, if it's going to happen, make sure that you're safe. So we have a lot to answer for and a lot to pay for and cancel later on in the month. So this is what I'm trying to prepare you for. So for example, overeating, overstimulating, sexual obsession, observation of other people, obsession with money, lying, obsession with criminal activity, doing things underground, under the table, saying a lot of very risky and scary words to just get that adrenaline pumping, because you see sometimes people have such toxicity in their bodies and their minds, the adrenaline makes them feel free. Okay, Jupiter, Mars. If you have a lot of that instability about your character, and also if you've been proven to be maybe dangerous or really like hardcore, it's very, very good to remember yourself and find a healthy way. A healthy way, please find a healthy way of dealing with these ups and downs. And a lot of these are chronic, and for some of them, they're generational, and for a lot of us, they are genetic. So even in somebody's having the best time in Gemini, if you have an unhealthy way of caring for yourself and supplying yourself that sugar and that sweetness, or that infantility or childishness or observation, if you have a weird, unhealthy way that you observe people or things, make sure that there is a healthy alternative next to you. So for example, I get upset, and I know that like my mother, like my grandmother, like her mother, will just go to the kitchen cupboard and grab every single oily, sweet, juicy, sugary, salty, or bitter thing that I can find with any specific taste, with any like very pungent taste, and I'll just eat that, because that's what makes me feel like a good woman. So maybe in my history, in my genetics, there was somebody once very, very wealthy or very well-to-do, and they were constantly experiencing like wealth and abundance, and part of that abundance in that era was eating a lot of oily, sweet, sour, extremely flavored food. So maybe you also have a certain type of thing that makes you feel good, and it just does it straight away, like pornography, for example, chronic masturbation, obviously, doing things too long away for too long and then wanting a shortcut, wanting to trick somebody into a certain life situation or experience, or lying. So, like all of this stuff, we have a complete showdown in Cancer. We have Lilith in Cancer. Also, yes, Ceres, Eros, and Sappho are going into Cancer. It's not just this. There is just going to be an irreversible sense of damage and agony if we're constantly looking to play with the other side. So being found out for something is possible. It's also possible to have a disease evolve if you, for example, are chronically overeating during this time. If you are stimulating yourself in secret, if you have a hidden world that you wouldn't ever want anybody else to know about, we have to see how you can find a healthy way to wake up and be well. In Cancer, things get shown. And I also trust that as we go eventually into Cancer by the end of this month, and we will also have, I believe, a new moon in Cancer, is going to be very, 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 very damaging for a lot of us to be hiding that thing now. I don't want anyone to know I got this. I don't want, la 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 la, I'm not listening, I'm not listening. Mommy didn't love me, daddy didn't care. I don't want anything. I just want this thing that I go to, or I just want to play this game that I'm playing with me, or another person. So if we are playing a bad game, or if we are using bad behavior or situations to achieve or uphold us, and if there is also a lying mechanism, so we're lying about something, or we are eating or involving in something that is not healthy for us, there's going to be a very big showdown in Cancer time. So already starting with the end of June, we'll have to be very, very, very honest and very clear and very clean on the picture that we're painting, simply because we can't make it. So this is where you can't make it further than this. You understand? So it's like you've gone through 2 job auditions, interviews, and you can't go past this because somebody did a criminal check on you, or somebody has, I don't know, like talked to a friend or somebody that somebody's talked to your previous employer and they found out about something that you've been doing recently or like last year. So like these things come up, so negative behavior, forced sympathy, being uneasy around people, lying, making faces, sugarcoating a very, very, very bad experience or thing. There are showdowns, or there isn't, but they will be 2 or 3 times more dense and heavy showdown eventually as we go towards the end of the year and we come to March. So that's the thing. Tiger likes a war. Sometimes Tiger likes that juicy stuff and it will grind it out of us. It's like if someone is withholding money, if somebody's lying, if somebody is involving in criminal activity, or if they even have a criminal record or something they've been hiding in their body, in their mind, in their behavior, in their world, even the worldview, we will have it come out. So at the moment, I trust it's not that easy when it does. So here we are. Don't be afraid of the Freudian slip in Gemini. We have beautiful Jupiter Mars close to Chiron in Aries. So if you accidentally say stuff, also with this incredible Venus trailing behind the sun at about 12th house to the sun distance as she's starting in Taurus and going to Gemini this month, she's behind the sun. So she's beautifying things, so she's like, oh yeah, make it happen. At the moment, like right now, it's an okay choice to accidentally tell that person, you know what, I've been so in love with you, oh my God, and I'm completely lost in you. And that's why, like, I stalk your Facebook account, for example. Or it's really good now to just, reverse the damage and do something that you can handle doing or thinking about or talking through. And then the truth accidentally comes out. People see you for who you are. It's like we see your true colors, and everything is a beautiful laugh. make it possible that you are laughing this Gemini season. Allow it to be awkward. Allow yourself to be the goofy guy. Let yourself be a child in class again with the class laughing. It's not sad. It should never be sad. Let yourself fall down and make that mistake, maybe even again and again. Let you be that clown or that, person who's not really maybe perfect now, in front of someone else. Maybe someone else is like, wow, that's not perfect. Okay. But at the same time, as you are not perfect, you are real. And then all of this juiciness and all of this time that Gemini is going to provide you, like success and like happy days and don't worry about it, let's go for a beer, like all of this fun thing, all of that fun stuff is definitely, I feel, going to clear some of that away. And just one day of realizing how perfect life is and how everybody holds your hand anyway can transcend a life of torture because of something that you are doing, saying, or that you have done or have said before, or somebody that you've been with. Like all of this can just like come out. And the fruitiness of it and the fertility of it is magnificent. To me, it's like skyrocketing. And if you are this wise, and if you know now, the minute that this burden is out of my soul, the minute that I admit this, the minute that I let myself be obvious and kind of pathetic even, or like uncomfortable with what I am or what I've done, like the minute that I fall, Tiger year loves a fall. Gemini loves an accident. Yeah, I fall. I admit. I admit my evils, or I admit my sadness, I admit my trust issues, I admit my mom's stuff, I admit my daddy's stuff, all of that stuff. And then here we are. If you are super, super clever, you would even admit things before they even need to be admitted. You would actually fall, even though it's not even asked of you, because of how well life bounces you back and how many good friends and handshakes and funny faces you have to look forward to in the end. But if you're not built for it and you are tortured, now that's a hard energy. Maybe you have a very hard family line. So the next sign is Cancer in June, July. First here we have, Gemini. And Gemini is 12th house before Cancer. So if you are like a Cancer person and right now you like, I have no idea what is going on in the world, this is all crazy stuff. Sometimes all of that family line stuff, all that anger and craziness and tackiness and conservatism that usually conservatism just tries to hold up a person that has done something uncomfortable, unstable. So conservatism is usually a sign of not being able to handle yourself or your joys or your wisdoms, anything, and having a lot of pain. Sometimes some of the most conservative cultures and people have come from the biggest shame, so that's the thing. We have an uncovering now. And I already talked a little bit about chronic diseases, chronic fatigue, depression, skyrocketing, like bills for things that you don't need to buy, and obsession with observing people and judging them, and anger and what people call black magic and all of this stuff. Anything like that is good to see. If you can laugh about it and not lie about it now, you'll save yourself like 5 months of suffering for some only 3. Like, I feel you'll save yourself so much. But if you are beginning to see that you don't want anyone to come to your house, you don't want anybody to see you, you don't want to talk about it, it's probably very, very bad. Or you've done some big wrongs. Or maybe there is something of a karma in your family that is just ongoing. So all this like black magic, voodoo stuff sometimes begins in the unconscious of the home. So 12th house to Cancer is Gemini. So all of these very weird like little wars that you're playing in your head, all of these little games, like shoot 'em ups, like, oh, where is that sad feeling? Like, why am I feeling so wrong? Why am I feeling so sad? Like, where is the enemy? All of this stuff is actually just a showcase of who you are unconsciously, because maybe some of your tribe or your family line has had that also happen, and maybe there is some trauma or alcoholism or obsession or just cruelty in the family line, and it is very hard for some people just have a laugh about it all. So how do we do it? Caricatures, TV characters. The saddest things can be said with like Borat and Ali G. You know what I mean? So like some of the time, it's just so funny to laugh at yourself. And then we have another world. If you have a darkness, laugh at yourself. Laugh. You know, if your mother has said something, laugh. Like if your dad did something, laugh. Like try to laugh if it's very, very hard. And if your body's locking up and can't hold on, we have to see somebody. So sometimes people have to see a professional. So I'm going to a chiropractor these days. Really great. I'm taking some different herbs and things. Make a progressive move, but don't wallow in it. That's the thing. So take the bull by the horns, as they say. Catch the dragon by the tail. It's one of those very, very phenomenal, adventurous times. So if you don't go, where are you? Go, go. If you have to, check your messages, check your Facebook, Instagram. Where's everybody else going? Go somewhere. Be playful, be fun. North Node is behind the sun. You sometimes don't know what's best for you, and it sort of like comes out in an accidental way. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. I hope this wasn't too grinding and boring. And yes, it is a whopping 46 minutes as I'm looking at the time now. Thanks a lot, you guys. I will be doing all 12 sides and putting them on Patreon as well. And if you are my Patreon person, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. And yes, if you need anything, if you are curious about Peruvian herbs or sessions or anything, write to me and check out my website and my books and everything. It should all be in the links below. Thank you so much. Bless you. I hope that you have a beautiful June. Bye.